to know whether I should go straight.
Why don't you do one after I introduce you?
Oh, dear. I will actually do it in my, there's a little prayer in my introduction. So shall I do that just there?
Yes, that'd be great.
Well, so
Welcome everyone to the Golden Pathway Zoom seminar. We are established to help make the transition for people from the 7 major world religions to the teachings of the Ascended Masters. We have had seminars for the last 5 or 6 years on topics as diverse as physical healing, relationship building, prosperity, developing more prosperity in your life, healing your psychology. And this year's theme is practicing spirituality. How do we turn all this knowledge we have into behaviors and become the Christ that we are meant to be? And today, our topic is called God's Karma and Man's Dharma, the Divine Covenant. And in this presentation, we will delve into the profound teachings of God's karma and man's dharma. Mark and Elizabeth Clare Prophet teach that one's dharma is the duty to fulfill one's reason for being, the divine plan that runs as a thread through all of your many, many lifetimes, culminating in your mission being fulfilled and the soul's liberation from the round of rebirth, which we know as the ascension. We will explore the intricate relationship that binds karma and dharma together in a divine covenant. We aim to uncover the significance of this sacred covenant and how our divine identity, fulfilling our reason for being, and discovering our life's unique mission in this age. I'm glad you're joining us to learn about this vital process and how it is essential in nurturing our spiritual growth and deepening our connection to our divine self. I'd like to remind everyone to please remain muted for the early part of this presentation. And we love to see your faces. However, if you're moving around, we ask that you turn your cameras off. Our presenter today is Joy Rulewski from Sydney, Australia. She's been a lifelong and passionate student of the Ascended Masters and has devoted her life to a spiritual path. She became a keeper of the flame in 1980 after hearing a lecture from the Summit Lighthouse in Manila, Philippines. She migrated to Australia in 1981 and served in various leadership roles in the Sydney Teaching Centre, doing outreach, lectures, book studies, and leading decree services. With a great passion for music, she teaches singing and conducts a community choir. She's also an authorized officiant for civil marriages and funerals. Joy wrote and published a book inspired by the teachings of the Ascended Masters called Reclaiming Your Divinity, Accessing Your True Superpower. Welcome, Joy. We are glad to have you here today. You're muted.
I thought I unmuted myself. Oh, there I go. Okay. Thank you, Patricia. That was a lovely and kind introduction. That was a beautiful introduction of the lecture. Thank you. And good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I am Joy Rulewski, a keeper of the flame from Sydney Teaching Center, as we said. Okay, a very warm welcome to everyone. And I'm very grateful and honored to be here and to share with you a presentation of what I believe to be a fascinating and profound topic: God's karma, man's karma, and remembering the divine covenant. We will also discuss, as was already mentioned, the energies of Alpha and Omega. What does God's karma and man's karma have to do with each other? And what is the divine covenant? And how does understanding all of these impact the fulfillment of our reason for being here and now? When preparing for this lecture, I naturally drew from the vast body of teachings of the Ascended Masters. I'm sorry, but my what's happening to the video? I got a frozen video here. Is that right with everyone?
My video is not frozen.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm now in the path of the books. The books are there. So the next video. So when preparing for this lecture, I naturally drew from the vast body of knowledge of the Ascended Masters over the many, many years on the path. And I'm profoundly grateful for the thousands of hours listening to and reading the Masters' dictations, lectures, pearls of wisdom through our beloved messengers, book studies, and SUs, as well as my deep encounters, like with all of us, with the Holy Spirit in our hours of meditation, prayers, and decrees. And as has been the experience of many of us, we find that every time we read a book or listen to a teaching again, it's almost like it's for the very first time, or we have gotten a completely new teaching. But such is the nature of the living word and the everlasting gospel. We are continually told that the Master's words deserve at least 33 levels of study in order to assimilate their fuller meaning. And that's just the start. So now my joyous task is that by God's grace, we'll try to encapsulate the pertinent teachings that I have gathered into this one thing that is the topic of this lecture. And I humbly pray that the Holy Spirit, our own sponsoring masters, beloved Hermes Trismegistus, beloved Jesus and Kuthumi, the Divine Mother, and our beloved Guru Milanello, guide us, open our hearts and minds that we may be blessed with the understanding and the wisdom that we are meant to assimilate today. So, does God make karma? Have you ever contemplated the idea that God makes karma? Have you ever thought that you and I are God's karma? When I first heard this concept, like I'm sure some of you, I was astounded. Surely, how can God make karma? Most of us tend to immediately think of karma as a bad thing, a negative consequence of a negative act, emotion, or feeling, actually a kind of a punishment, and that only human beings make karma. But studying this topic even more deeply, I was more astounded. See, God is the first cause of all things seen and unseen. He created the first karma. God not only makes karma, he chooses to make karma. He chose to create you and me. He chose to create creation. We are God's karma, and as such, we have a unique binding relationship with him, as much as the father or mother has that irrevocable relationship, one being the issue of the other's own essence. God's creation is his karma, and sons and daughters of God are the karma of the living God Most High. Reflecting on this revelation provided me with a profound, expansive perspective of God. At the same time, I experienced a close feeling of personal real connection with him as an intimate part of his being. Realizing that the Creator, the Father, is our Father, is also my Father, and on a visceral level, that I am his daughter, with the blueprint and mandate to manifest this divine identity. We have the breath of God in us. We have his gene. It says in the Bible, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you to be a prophet to the nations. It's in Jeremiah. So let's look at the law of karma. As we all know, the law of karma is the law of the cause and effect. Simply, though every desire, thought, and feeling, it is a creative, positive thrust of energy that sets into motion a corresponding response received in the negative polarity in the realm of matter. What we see around us is simply the materialization of desire, thought, or action. So karma is God's energy in action, originating in the mind of God, energy action, reaction, interaction, is the trinity of the Logos. The creative force field of the mind of God is the source of karma. So what I'm not inventing these things. This is what's written in what's become my handbook mostly. This is the second book on the path on climb the highest mountain, and is the path of self-transformation. So karma is the result of God's eternal desiring to be God. Mother explains in the book that there is no karma without desire, and no desire without a self-desiring, and no self without God. So karma is the result of God's eternal desiring to be God, to create. Creation is God's desiring to create more of himself. And in so doing, he makes permanent the law of karma in the cycles of cosmos. He set the course of creation by creating karma. God's karma, though, is the karma of perfection. Perfection being the flow of harmony from spirit to matter, and from matter back to spirit, as it continues to forever transcend himself. So the word karma comes from an ancient chant that they intoned in Lemuria, motherland Mu, from the word ka-rama. Intoning the energies of ka, as when we breathe out ka, is the sacred fire breath as a sigh expressing the will and the desire of spirit. The Creator sent forth the great central sun, the impetus of Ka, and Ra, which is the word or the Logos, for its crystallization in Ma. So we see there the Trinity of Father, Son, and Mother. So Karama is the source of karma. Ka in spirit manifesting in matter through Ra. And each time the cycles goes upward and back and forth, the cycle spirals upward in the golden ratio, fulfilling the law of transcendence. So this karma is not a good karma nor bad karma. It is the karma of absolute reality beyond measure. There's a quote from the book, Mother says. So let us look at the book of Genesis very briefly. It shows a spectacular demonstration of God's desire to create. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the chain of action, reaction, interaction was begun. God, the first cause, created the first karma. By his will to be, God willed into being both creator and creation, and thereby set into motion the eternal movement of his energy, which is karma. So let us briefly look at the Bible, at the creation. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was soon upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let the firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. Every time we say it was so, that means to say that it happened. So that was the karma after his mandate. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and morning were the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was very good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and the herb yielded seed after his kind, and the tree yielded fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day, and so on and on and on. And he saw everything that he had made and affirmed that it was all very good. So we see with great exuberance, God went on to create the whole of creation and continues to do so. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, and the chain of action, reaction, interaction was begun. God, the first cause, created the first karma. By the motion, by his will to be, God willed into being both creator and creation, and thereby set into motion the eternal movement of his energy, karma. But God's karma, no, God is God, sorry, karma is God's energy in action. So originating in the mind of God, energy, action, reaction, interaction is the trinity of the Logos. The creative force field of the mind of God is the source of karma. So God's karma can be understood as the movement of his will in endless succession of primary forces, and so on ad infinitum, from the center of his being to the circumference, and from the circumference to the center. It is the karma of creation. So God's karma, we'll look at Tai Chi now. God's karma is expressed as the movement of the Tai Chi, of father loving mother and mother loving father. So alpha to omega and omega back to alpha in the eternal rotation of love. Love that is the harmony of the spheres, love that is the joy of the creator in his creation and of the creation in the creator. We know that the quote that God said, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So in order to understand karma, man's karma and Dharma, we must understand God's karma. The creator is in his creation. God is an alpha and God is an omega. Alpha is an omega and omega is an alpha. Within creation, he engrafted the law of karma, the law of the cycles, and the law of transcendence. And then God decided to create man and woman, the apex of his creation, the summum bonum. And God said, let us make man in our image, male and female, he created them. But to them, he gave something unique that he didn't give to any of his other creation. He gave them the gift of becoming his sons and daughters. He gave them of his own essence, the divine spark of his own divinity, the threefold flame. He extended to man and woman, to man, the gift of co-creation, to partner with him in the realm of matter. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. As children, we learned from our catechism that God created man to know him, to love him, to serve him, and to unite with him, to return to him, trailing clouds of glory, to sit at his right hand as the Christ, the only begotten Son of God. And let's look at the divine covenant. Essentially, a covenant is a relationship between two partners who make binding promises to one another to work together to reach a common goal. So the original covenant was that for as long as man remained true to his part of the covenant, stay within the framework of cosmic law, he will be sealed in the protection of the law and enjoy the blessing, patronage, protection of God. He will be their God, and they will be his people. Jeremiah, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope for the future." And from out of the book, it says, out of the book of the Path of Self-Transformation, out of the divine mind came forth the etheric blueprint, the mental matrix, the emotional spiral, and the physical precipitation of creator creation, in order that the perfection of God's karma might be manifest as above, so below. The platform of matter was prepared for man to take on his spiritual journey to attain his Christhood. It was required for man and woman to enter into the path of initiation, to attain solar awareness, Christ awareness, and God awareness. So once God has fulfilled the cycles of himself in spirit and matter, he has completed the manifestation of his karma in the two spheres of wholeness. Now, man and woman, clothed etherically, mentally, emotionally, and physically, can enter into the spheres of God's consciousness. It is their opportunity by free will to make their karma God's karma, and their choices will be made one by one according to the original cycles of God's creation. What then will be the choice of man and woman? Will they choose to make their karma God's karma? Will they choose to put on line upon line, precept upon precept, the spirals of God's spirit matter consciousness? So I'm just noting here that it says there that they describe the consciousness of God as the God's spirit matter consciousness. So the perfection of Alpha, the perfection of Omega, as it's originally created. Will they accept the person of the Guru, the mediator of their own soul's perfection in Christ, in God? Will they be patient and diligent, humble and long-suffering as their souls are God-taught in the way of the putting on of the garment of the Lord's consciousness? Or will they be tempted by the shortcut method represented by the not-self, the serpent? So we see here the path of the initiation. The choice is made by man and woman in the moment of the soul's birth in time and space, and in each succeeding embodiment day, each cycle of being. The choice determines the karma of man and woman individually and collectively. So throughout history, we witness how mankind has failed in keeping the covenant. But of course, the first three root races, we know, followed that cycle, followed that blueprint, and ascended and created golden ages. But our greatest vow as keepers of the flame is that by God's grace, we will now fulfill our own covenant with God and fulfill our fiery destiny. So let us have a look at the covenant of the Magi. So we'll look at the decree, and we see here from the very beginning that the soul in this covenant, the soul freely surrenders and acknowledges God. It says, "Father, into thy hands I commend my being. Take me and use me, my efforts, my thoughts, my resources, all that I am, in thy service to the world of men and thy noble cosmic purposes, yet unknown to my mind. So already in this covenant, the soul is saying, yes, I'm offering to you, I acknowledge you as my God. Teach me to be kind in the way of the law that awakens men and guides them to the shores of reality, to the confluence of the river of life, to the Edenic source, that I may understand the leaves of the tree of life given to me each day are for the healing of the nations, that as I garner them into the treasury of being and offer the fruit of my loving adoration to thee and to thy purposes supreme, I shall indeed hold covenant with thee as my guide, my guardian, my friend. It's interesting that the Father is also the guide, guardian, my friend. So there is this friendship. The connection is more like a son and father rather than punishment or kind of a judgment, because the son and the father are in that relationship. For thou art the directing connector who shall establish my life stream with those heavenly contacts, limited only by the flow of the hours, who will assist me to perform in the world of men the most meaningful aspect of my individual life plan, as conceived by thee and executed in thy name, by the karmic board of spiritual overseers, who under thy holy law, holy direction, do administer thy laws. And the next one. And so the soul ratifies it, his surrender. He says, so be it, O eternal Father. May the covenant of thy beloved Son, the living Christ, the only begotten of the light, teach me to be aware that he liveth today within the triunity of my being as the great mediator between my individualized divine presence and my human self. So he acknowledges, the soul acknowledges that he is going to work to connect with his Christ self, because the soul has to make that free will choice, that he raiseth me into the Christ consciousness and thy divine realization, in order that as the eternal Son becomes one with the Father, so I may ultimately become one with thee. In that dynamic moment, when out of union is born my perfect freedom to move, to think, to create, to design, to fulfill, to inhabit, to inherit, and to dwell, and to be holy within the fullness of thy light. So there is that reward of the being a son of God. And again, he ratifies, Father, into thy hands I commend my being. So we see here the importance of free will. Integral to this opportunity is the gift, or are the gifts of free will and intellect, which God had given to man and not others of his creation, which is, again, another astounding, to me anyway, realization. We've heard that before, but just to realize it is another thing. See, only God and man, only God and God in man have free will. God is the supreme creator, and he created us to be his co-creator on earth. Only God and man has the free will to create and expand light and life. But man must do this within the framework of the cosmic law. Man's choice will have consequences accordingly. Angels and angelic evolution have not been given free will. All other creatures, including elemental life, are instruments of God's will and man's will. They are the instruments for the fulfillment of the karma of God and man. So you see here the status that God has given to his sons and daughters. And this is, if you remember, the reason, the major reason why Lucifer rebelled against God and his cosmic plan of the incarnation of God in man. He refused to bow before the Christ incarnate in man, as he considered himself superior to man and thought that he could run the universe better than God. So Lucifer and a third of his angels were cast out of heaven, and they have made it their sole purpose to destroy God's plan, annihilate man's opportunity for his divine destiny. And we see how the fallen angels have not stopped in their wicked agenda, but have relentlessly continued their diabolical plots against God and God in man and his creation. Through their culture of death, drugs, abortion, suicide, socialism, mechanization man, false teachings. So for further explanation and description of this, you should read The Fallen Angels Among Us, What We Need to Know. So here's another astounding statement. Angels, unlike men, are not given the liberty to experiment with God's energy. An angel who rebels against God's will is removed from his high estate of complete identification with God and is relegated to the lower spheres of man's habitation to balance the energy of God that he has misqualified. So man, however, made a little lower than angels, is already confined to the lower spheres of relativity. So when he creates negative karma, he simply remains in his own level and while he balances his karma. So for as long as we're alive on this relatively earthly realm of time and space, man has still the opportunity to make good his covenant with God, to balance his karma, pay his debts to life, learn his lessons, have mastery over time and space, and fulfill his divine plan, attain his Christhood, and ascend to his rightful place in God. So the masters and the messengers continually remind us to make full use of our being in the physical embodiment. This is where we've made our karma. This is where we have to learn our lessons, balance it, and fulfill our Dharma. To read more about this, read this amazing book, The Afterlife, by Elizabeth Clare Prophet. But however, this is some good news, which was good for me anyway, to learn that opportunity was given to angels to receive the gift of free will only after they would prove their ability to sustain the pure feelings of God during centuries of allegiance to the Creator and unswerving devotion to his creation, man, that is in the masters and their retreats. That quote. So matter is the platform for the initiation of the soul. Alpha, as you know, is the active thrust of creation that ignites the spark, and matter provides the form, the womb, the matrix, where the spirit seed is received, nurtured, and regenerated. So matter, or mother, this realm of time and space, was created as a platform for initiation on the path of mastery and attainment for the soul to become the son and daughter of God, the Christ. But God has not left man bereft. Aside from giving him his free will and intellect and the angels, he has engraven the code of his being in the cells and atoms of their being, the blueprint of their divine plan. God has equipped man with everything that we need to make it back to him in victory. Man has just to remember his high and holy calling, decide and choose to take God's karma as his Dharma, remember the divine covenant, and angels and David evolutions are there to help him. So Alpha and Omega, spirit and matter. This is where we can see that the interaction of Alpha and Omega. There is an endless pursuit of father, of mother, and mother of father. And this endless pursuit creates a magnetic force field drawn by the divine lovers, just like a battery with a plus and a minus, creates a charge, creates an energy flow, leading to the wholeness and transcendence. This magnetic attraction of Alpha and Omega sustains the whole of cosmos. Without this principle, creation will disintegrate. Could this be the reason why the fallen angels are so determined to destroy the principle of Alpha and Omega in our culture? We see that around us, demonstrated in the promotion of homosexuality, same-sex marriage, confusion, eradication of gender, the LGBTQ, identity politics, cancel culture, the destruction of the family, which is father, mother, and you, that's family, and the creation of a synthetic civilization. So, but we have God's essence in us, the I am that I am. So if we remember that, God's name, I am that I am, expresses the relational nature of God. The I am in Father is the I am in Mother. The I am in Mother is the I am in Father, in spirit and in matter. And if we, that's a beautiful concept, not just the concept, but if you do it, your meditation on Alpha and Omega, that will energize that connection, that magnetism. But many people today have lost that spiritual magnetism because they have neglected to keep that magnetic attraction within their souls of the great centered sun, the I am presence, thus diminishing the phatic energy in their aura, in their threefold flame. But our prayers and mantras and decrees, meditation, keep our flame blazing and our divine connection with our Father, Mother, God. So with a clear intention and attention, we can give the mantra, I am, my Father are one. I and my Mother are one. I am Alpha and Omega, the white fire core of being. And if we meditate that God in you, in your heart, is the same God as in the Father, and you look down at the Father and you see yourself down there and there's still God in you. So we just switch from Father to Mother, from you, the soul, with a threefold flame, and create that connection and that perspective until you unite in one as the Christ self in the middle. So we come to the age of the Mother, the age of the Shakti, the response of Omega. Creation happens twice, once in the spirit, in the invisible realm, and the other in the visible material realm. Creation follows the law of cycles, of the in-breath and the out-breath of God, the Alpha and Omega. We've entered the age of the Divine Mother, the Omega return. The Mother light is rising to return all to the Father. Mother, in her creative force of Shakti, activates her power in response to the original Alpha thrust. The tremendous power of the Divine Mother is so powerful, it can move continents. The Divine Mother urges us to bring all aspects of creation to God if it is to survive this new transformation. Alpha is breathing back in the harvest of his creation. And the concept of the Manvantara is explained in the Hindu, it's also in our books, which is the cycle of man's duration of mankind. So it is thousands of years. So we have entered the age of the Divine Mother as the Omega return, and we have the opportunity both individually and as a planet to give birth to the golden age of Aquarius, creating a new earth and a new heaven, or else fall back into the subconscious level of the dark ages. So Guru Maharaj had always mentioned that the Omega return from the 6 o'clock line back to the 12 o'clock line is more arduous than the Alpha thrust from the 12 to the 6. We have to prepare for this. It is now time when all is coming home to roost. We have not only to balance our karma, we have to fulfill our Dharma, put on our higher level of consciousness, and embody our Christhood. Through Mother Mary's powerful teachings of the cosmic clock, we are able to victoriously navigate through life in accordance with the cosmic plan, the cosmic cycles, with the different sponsoring masters and hierarchs of each of lines of our astrology. But a major proportion of the people on earth have lost their way and forgotten their true nature, their divine reality. The soul feels empty and disoriented. She cannot find her way back to spirit. She has lost contact with the mother. She is crying out for the divine mother. Modern society is seeing a massive spike in mental illness. Modern man is experiencing a crisis of identity and of meaning. We see that, people don't know whether they're man, woman, or a dog or a flower. There's an unprecedented surge in the personal and spiritual development field, with people seeking spiritual counseling, therapy, life coaching, self-actualization. They're looking for mother. See, one self-concept is of fundamental importance for the victory on the spiritual path, because the soul cannot rise higher than the highest concept she has of herself. Guru Maharaj always emphasized the importance of healing one's psychology in tandem with the spiritual healing used as spiritual tools of the violet flame and the teachings of the masters. The soul needs healing from the guilt and shame, the fear and all negative projections imputed in her by the fallen ones, false teachings. She needs to be cleared of the negative influences, wrong concepts, dark forces, negative programming, negative hereditary factors, or impressions of all living beings intensified by the mass communications, satellites, and psychic aspects of the human existence. Read that more if you wish in the Mysteries of the Holy Grail and the book of the Human Aura. The soul has to learn the equation of light and darkness and be able to invoke sufficient light to cast out her false self. The soul must reclaim her sense of self-worth and truly feel in her four lower bodies and the levels of consciousness, as we saw how that in the beginning that God created the whole four quadrants for man to enter into, that she then will feel worthy of incarnating God as a son or daughter. But how? The Divine Mother teaches the path through the path of the heart, the path of love and open-heartedness. She reveals the secret and hidden wounded aspects of the inner child coming up for redemption, as well as their corresponding hidden strengths and virtues that lie therein. Mother takes her through the initiations of 6 o'clock line of the mother, the 7 o'clock line through the omega lines to harmony and abundance, gratitude, justice, reality, vision, and victory, and through the secret rays of the 5 Jnana Buddhas, and assimilate the qualities of, among others, gratitude, receptivity, innocence, purity, transparency, intuition, authenticity, compassion, self-worth, creativity, equality, collaboration, community, excellence, self-responsibility, and a sense of victory. So the Divine Mother will teach her how to give birth to the Christ, teaching her the secret alchemy of incarnating God. It is the Divine Mother who teaches who she is, and will remind her of who she truly, her divine parents are. So the Divine Mother will remind her that she is created with a unique purpose that only she can perform, a life mission. Remind her of her agreement before she came down to earth to contribute to humanity, which will be the crystallization of her Christ identity, and through which she will win her victory in the ascension. The Divine Mother teaches her the true science of being, the power of the spoken word, the valor transmuting flame, but not the endless prattling of intellectual words, but the becoming of the Christ, the becoming of the Word. Mother holds the key to the true healing of the soul through the feminine ray of receiving, accepting, and becoming and being one's highest and truest self. In the dictation today of Jesus that I heard at the very end, there were 3 things I think that Jesus said, and all of them were saying accepting, accepting, accepting. So we see here that God transcends himself as man transcends. God transcends himself as man transcends himself. For God is in man and man is in God. Through the merging of cycles, man becomes more of God and God becomes more in man. Hence, new creations are continually being born into spirals that expand the circle of the infinite one. So now I would like to have the affirmations up on the screen. But we're going to say this, but wherever it says 3 times or 9 times, we will only say it once because of time. So Mother says that the real essence of the Mother is the teachings of the Ascended Masters, which is the true path to self-transformation. This is the mighty work of the ages. So these are affirmations for the inner child. And this is taken from the notes from Elizabeth Clare Prophet. Sorry, there's so many misspellings there. So let us claim this to heal our souls. And we'll you're all muted. So I'll read this for us, and if we can read this together. I am a loved child. I am totally loved and adored by my loving, all-wise, and all-powerful God-parents. Every day and every way, I am getting better and better. In the name of my mighty I Am Presence, I will conform my emotional patterns to my new me. My new me recognizes my inner child as adorable, loving, wise, and whole. In the name of my mighty I Am Presence and beloved Holy Christ Self, in the name of my inner child, I will no longer be ruled by the false beliefs of my ego. In the name of my mighty I Am Presence, I take responsibility for my life, for my happiness, and for my soul. I call to my beloved Holy Christ Self and to my mighty I Am Presence to establish a wholeness for my loving inner adult and my beloved inner child through Alpha and Omega, my Father, Mother God, and my own work. To that end, I now give the fiats of the joint work of the Father and the Son, which I make my own. I am atoned, I and my Father are one. I can of mine own self do nothing. It is the Father in me which doeth the work. My Father worketh hitherto, and I work. I must work the works of him that sent me. I will work while I have the light, the Guru, with me. For the night cometh, the absence of the Guru, when no man can work. I am lovable, adorable, whole within my inner self and my inner child. God is loving and adoring me now. All my wants are met through God. God is real in me because I am connected through Christ. My inner adult, my inner child are one. I am deciding right now to learn with my inner child what it means to love myself. I love my soul because God is loving my soul. I'm worthy to be loved because I'm the daughter, son of Alpha and Omega. Next page. I am atoned. I have atoned and will continue to atone for my sins, and I will go and sin no more. Because I love myself and I love myself as I truly am in God, my soul and my Father, Mother are one. My adorable inner child and my loving inner adult are one. I affirm that I am whole. I affirm that I am that wholeness of my Father, Mother, God. I cannot sin, for I do not need to sin. I make the fiat that my ego is dissolved and that my inner child and the inner adult are bonded to my real self and my beloved Holy Christ Self. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Christ in me, the hope of glory, in my adorable inner child and my unbounded loving adult. So we will end this session with a meditation of the Divine Mother. It's 8 minutes and 22 seconds. So if you'd close your eyes and receive this blessing from the Divine Mother.
O Gloria Mare, I am within the heart of God. I am in the mind of Father. I am in the soul of Mother. Within the flaming sea of my own God consciousness, I discover who I am. I exalt self-awareness as God, as Mother, loving Father, as Father, loving Mother. This fusion as the entwining of caduceus fires produces the oneness out of which I am born this day. In resurrection fires, I swim in the sea of Mother of Pearl, of causal body consciousness, of Elohim, of light and starry bodies. Myself is the all-self of every life. Only in the oneness am I known. I have seen the bitter fruit of separation from the one, of identifying the creation, of separating myself out from the great sea of God. I return to the all, the void, the sea. I swim in God. And though I dissolve and be dissolved in the great sea, though I lose all self to the greater self, I lose not the self, for I become the greater self. As I am the salt crystal dissolving in the ocean of God, though I have disappeared to dual eyes, I am reappeared in oneness. I am in the cloud that received him out of their sight. They see me not, yet I am the forget-me-not of God. God has not forgotten my soul, my life, yet I am hid with Christ in God. They have mourned my going. They have seen me disappear from the screen of their daily activities. They think I have taken the wrong way. They know me not as they knew me in their limited consciousness of child, object of manipulation. They know me not as the Son of God, and because I have become that Son, they see me no more, yet I am beheld in the eye of God. I am that I am. And they are they which testify of me. They cannot describe my comings and my goings, yet they search the scriptures. In them they think they have eternal life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. There is no definition of infinity, but only a magnet of love that impels all to define self within the same limitless confines of cosmic consciousness. I am known of God, and I am born of the Spirit. Without father, without mother, or beginning or ending of days, I am in the sphere of God consciousness. I not only affirm that oneness, I am that oneness. No thing in heaven or earth, in the sea or in the waters under the sea, can take from me the presence of the living God. I will to be. I will to be. I will to be free. Om Buddha. Om Mare. Om. I meditate on self as God. I rise into the bliss. I fear no loss of definition. I am the all of definition. I am time and timelessness. I am space and spacelessness. I am that I am. Soundless wonder now made known, voice of the silence does atone for every incompleteness. I am one. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased.
You're muted, Joy, but you're talking.
This is the end of my presentation this morning. My profound gratitude to our Father, Mother God, to all ascended masters for the gift of these teachings, to beloved Guruma and Lanello. And I'd like to thank all the beautiful staff of the Golden Pathway, Patricia Parnham, Linda Robin, Rosalinda Siciliano, and her magnificent team for this tremendous opportunity to share these teachings. I also want to thank one person who helped me with the slides, and that's Astrid Freeman, and to each and every one of you for being here with your causal bodies and your loving presence to sup with one another of the feast of the living word. May the Divine Mother bless us all. And just one more thing, and I, as a post-it, and I do have permission from Patricia to give a quick mention of my book, and that if anybody would like to, know more about the book, if you know of anybody who would be benefiting from the teachings of the Divine Self, then there's my book there. I think it'll be in the, if it's allowed, I'll be showing the slide there, the next one. And if you want to subscribe to blogs of around the same, if you enjoy the talk and you think somebody would be would like to know more about this topic, then I'll put the an email in the Skype chat for those who might be interested. And thank you very much. That is all.
Thank you,
Back to
Joy.
you.
That was a wonderful presentation. When I thought about being God's karma, when you first told me the title, I was like, oh my goodness. But after this presentation, I feel like we should all have greater self-worth and sense of worthiness of being God's karma and being shown how to go back to him. So I am very, very grateful for this, and I'd like to open it up for any questions or comments for a few minutes if people have any they would like to make.
The meditation is so powerful. The meditation is powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, my gosh. And that continues to for another 10 minutes. Yeah. Meditation and the
Powerful, yes. A lot
yeah.
of gratitude in the chat. Lots of thanks.
Thank you.
Don't see any. Oh, yes, we can get you the I am affirmations. We'll send that out with the replay information.
Just a quick question for you, Joy. So we spoke about God's karma, and I know you touched a bit about the Dharma. Is there any quick tips you could tell us about finding our fiery destiny? I know we used a lot of affirmations and renewing the covenant of the Magi and all that, which are really powerful, good to use. I shall be using them. But do you have any quick tip of how we can find our own Dharma and fulfill that fiery destiny?
Well, we have this connect to what really you love. And I think we had this, there is a workshop that we did in Summit to find out what you're good at and what you're really passionate about, what makes your heart sing and what it is that you'd like to do. And sometimes that can come in, from my point of view, it comes in stages. So you might have to do something because through karma, you might have to balance some karma first so that you are able to clear that, and then you can move to the next part. But there's always that longing that you know in your heart what it is that you want to do, that God wants you to do. So first really is connect to your real self, connect with your God self, connect with God, have that relationship with the Father. And, and then it'll be revealed to you. You just know it. It's like in your being. I'm sure every one of us here has felt that, and why we're still in the teachings, because we know. Anybody would like to add to that? But so it's really what you love and what you're strong at, and what's something that only you can do. Like there is a song in your heart that only you can sing, and then you must not go to the next world not having sung it yet. So everybody's waiting for that. And it's that angle of God's divinity in Christ's mind that you know that that's the one that you have to give to the world. So there's no competition in that. There's no comparing one with the other. And so it comes back to that self-concept, that self-identity, that accepting of the self. God has really gifted you with something so unique of his presence in you. And then you value that. And then that's why you follow. And then lots of things along the way will tell you, no, don't do that. That's not true. But then so you really have to heal your psychology, really connect with your real self, and ask God to tutor you along the way.
And take the next step.
And take the next step. That's right. Always take action. Because if you can have it, all having it in your head, then God can never tell you whether that's wrong or not. So taking action allows you in the material sphere an opportunity to self-correct. So you really need to take action. Even if you think, oh, that might be wrong, then you will know, because that's the law of karma. Karma is through action. And then you can re-correct.
Thanks for that question, Kagani. I think Rosalinda has a hand up.
I just wanted to add to everything that Joyce said, that one of the winds in your sail is the will of God is good. So it's looking at personal desires. And when I find that as I desire God's will, that things flow more quickly or more beautifully, and things come to me, things that I didn't even know could happen because of that. So that's kind of like a rudder calling for God's will, because the will of God is good.
Very good. So that's why in the divine covenant of the Magi, the very first is, Father, into thy hands I commend my being and offer you everything. So you're putting it in God's hand. But then God, in your Christ self, will speak back to you and say, oh, wonderful. This is what it is. It gets revealed to you, your true self. It is exciting journey, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah. And you've also reminded me of a teaching by Cyclopeia, where he said, we are here to master one note. Just one note in this great symphony. But you'll have to know when to come on time, but it's your one note to master.
Well, you think of all the ascended masters, I'm sure that other notes, but note we know them, like God of Freedom, Saint Germain, God's Will, Gloria, and all of that. Just think of all the ascended masters. They're all brilliant, and yet they're all very different, and yet they're the same. So they are our examples.
Thank you very much, everyone. This has been a wonderful teaching today, and we learned a lot, and we're so happy that you joined us, and we look for you to join us next month. Yes, we're having a session in December, and it will be our beloved Ann Bethel talking about oils from the Bible and the ancient text. So thank you. We love you. God victory. And we'll see you. Happy Thanksgiving.